So, hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to today's curtain call discussion with our very own Annie Henk, the star of Bad Dates, now running at Portland Stage. I'm Todd, and I'll be facilitating today's discussion. So if you have any burning questions for Annie or Zach, feel free to pop those in the chat or in the Q&A feature. And yeah, so to kick things off, Annie, can you tell the audience a little bit about where you're from, where you're based out of now, and when you started acting?
Okay, so I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm a New Yorker, city slicker. Let's see. I've been acting now professionally, I think it's about 20, maybe about 24 years. I
Nice.
know, time flies, yeah. And what was the other thing? I already forgot. Give me like
You
three.
did no, you did them. It was
Okay.
where are you from, where are you based, and when did you start acting?
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you
from there
remember?
and based there.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first professional show was?
I do. I
What was
do.
it?
And I was telling Molly, who is one of our interns, because she's from Florida and she's from Miami, and she's lived there. And my first gig, oh, it's the best. So a little like tiny trivia about me is that I started out wanting to be an actor when I was a kid, and then dabbled a little bit and did a little auditioning here and there, up until my late teens. And then I thought, I've outgrown this, and I don't know what I was thinking. And I decided to go into another area, and I started going into banking.
Oh,
And
sure.
so, yeah, because they're so similar. And so, and so I decided to go into banking, and I loved it, and I was doing that for a while, but I missed the acting, I missed that creativity. And a friend of mine who also went into banking and was in communications, she was someone who had been working with news, and she said, listen, the one thing you should never do when you're an artist is completely pull yourself out. She said, jam your foot in the door, just make sure it doesn't close. And I never forgot that, and I wish I could find her someday. But like the visual of that, the image of just keeping your foot in the door just in case you want to go back in. And so I started taking workshops and classes. And at the time I was living in Miami, I lived there for about 10 years. And then I got this crazy community theater, horrible, horrible, really fun, ridiculous play. And I thought, man, I still love this. I really want to do it. And I found an ad in the paper for the Coconut Grove Playhouse. It was still
Mhm.
around then, and it was this beautiful place. And they had this small apprenticeship. And I thought, what the hey? I'm just going to go and do this apprenticeship. And it wasn't a lot of money. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to challenge myself. And if I do this and if I book this job, I'm quitting banking. That's it. And then I psyched myself out. I was so scared. I never learned my monologue. I didn't have a song ready, and I panicked, and I got there too early, and they were like, and this place was gorgeous and magical inside. And I walked in, I was like, hi, I'm here for the audition. And they were like, you're a little early, but there's a coffee shop down the block. Why don't you wait there and come back? And I got to the coffee shop and I panicked. I was like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing? I've got a job. I can't do this. And I called my friend, who I had met downtown in that show, and he had worked there before. And he says, listen to me, do the monologue from the show we're doing. And you know every song in Rent. Sing. I was like, oh! So I went back and I faked my whole audition like I was prepared. This is horrible, guys, horrible. But I had kind of forgotten about this. And so I went in, and it's true. I was so relaxed because I really did know that monologue. And I really did know the music from Rent, and they hadn't heard any of those. So they were really surprised. And they sat there, they talked a little bit, and they looked at me. And I had made this promise to myself that they didn't know. And so they looked at me and they said, okay, we want to talk to you. We normally only cast um, the first part of the season, which is they go to schools. There was an apprenticeship where you do children's shows, and there was the younger audiences and the teen audiences, and it goes like
Mhm.
September through June. It says we usually only cast up until December, but we would like to offer you the entire season right now if you'll accept right now. And I went, you just changed my life. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, I'm gonna go quit my job. You've changed my life. And they're like, wait, what do you do? I was like, I work in banking. I'm a supervisor at Merrill Lynch. And they were like, do you know how much we pay? I said, yes, I don't care. And I took the job, and it was thrilling because I ended up in another direction. I hadn't gone to school for this. And so
Mhm.
I missed this whole boat where you get to be in a classroom and do choreography and singing all day. And so this was that kind of blend where they're teaching you how an equity production would be. And we had, a choreographer would come in and do that. And then we had music all day. And then we had the play and the rehearsals. And then we got to go perform for kids who are the best audiences ever. And it changed my life. And then the woman who ran the education department, Judith Delgado, is like one of my dearest friends to this day.
Mhm.
Um, and that's how I started professionally acting. That was my first professional gig, best experience ever.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I kind
Go
of
on,
forgot about it. I
sorry.
was like, oh, Louis the Lizard. I wasn't the lizard.
um, Pivoting back to, and again, folks, if you have questions, if you want to drop those in the chat, if you want to drop those in the Q&A feature, thank you, Janice. What a
Yeah,
lovely
thank you,
compliment.
Janice.
Um, Feel free to drop those in there. More on the bad date side, I know that one person shows can be kind of challenging because you're up there alone. Like you don't have anyone else to like. I know I've gone up on lines, and usually I've never done a one person show before. But when I go up on lines in a show, there's usually someone else there to be like, no, we got it. We're doing this part now. But how do you like keep on track or like get back into it if you find that you've like strayed a little bit? Like how does that work for you?
You find that I've derailed? Oh, it happens. Okay, so another behind the scenes of this incredible, beautiful, beautiful experience, because I just can't equate it to anything else, only because obviously we're not post pandemic. We're still in the middle of trying to get out of this. So I have to say that despite with all the circumstances, which I'll get into in a second, it's a privilege. And I'm not just saying that. This is a ridiculous privilege to be able to do this on stage. So I was like, yes, of course I'll do this. I have to. And then I didn't realize that we would only have 2 weeks to learn an entire show. And so, oh man. I mean, of course, that you go up on lines, that happens, right? Like in a regular production, and then your partner, they're just looking at you and they throw the ball back at you, and somehow the ball's back in the court and you're all playing. And all of a sudden I was like, what am I going to do? It was a really short process. And it's hard to land in your bones and really be grounded, especially with Haley. Haley is all over the place, and she's, her memories, and she's telling you a little about the past, and she's also preparing for the near future while staying in the present and digressing and changing clothing and looking for shoes and putting on makeup. And it is insane in the best possible way, in the best possible challenge. I mean, I feel like this is the Olympics of my, of sports for me. And so it's challenging because, yeah, I've gone up a ton. And I think Zach is like smirking because I asked if they could keep giving me line notes, which, you don't normally continue to get. But it's important to me because our process was so short and this play is so specific. On the surface, it seems like Haley, yes, she does ramble, but Teresa Rebeck's structure and dramaturgy is unreal.
Mhm.
Every line has a purpose. Everything Haley says, it's one huge soliloquy. I mean, it's just she states what she's going to talk about. She starts and then she digresses and she goes and then she goes right back and she bookends everything. And if you lose a tiny thread, first, of course, as an actor, your body goes into this weird shock and it goes into this panic, and you're like, how do I? Where do I find that? How do I can't, if I grab the skirt long enough, will it come to me? Like, so it's been a process and I'm continuing to work on it. So Janice, if you come back and watch it literally, sometime this week before it closes, it's already another show. It's grown that much more. And that's how I am as an actor. Like I always continue to work on my lines and continue to try to learn and grow. But this process was really hard. And for me, what's been amazing is it's this crazy, there's all these parallels between me and Haley and between life and Haley. And I feel like this play is such a metaphor for so much that's going on right now. But what's helped me is by staying calm. And if you've seen the show, you understand. And if you haven't, you will. And the irony is that sometimes Haley is speaking to me and I'm speaking to myself. And, she says more and more, it seems like we're all going to get what we want just by being calm. And I do a lot of meditation and I had to take care of my body. I had to rest. I had to eat well because this was beyond any exhausting thing that I've done in a long time. So, really just taking care of myself, staying zen, another little clue in the play for those of you who've seen it already, staying as zen as possible to allow the play to breathe
Mhm.
has helped me to tell the story because it's been hard. It's been tough. Yeah, but it's fun.
Thanks. Um,
Let's see. We have something.
Zach, I'd love to toss a question your way.
Sure.
I know I don't think that our audience necessarily knows this, but our directing and dramaturgy interns that work with us each season, they get to like read all of the plays and then pitch which ones they would like to work on. This season has been kind of weird because we weren't always sure what we were doing next. But for these last two slots, we did know what we were doing or had a really strong idea. Now we're confirmed, which is great. But I know, Zach, you really wanted to work on this piece. And so I wanted to check in about like what inspired that, what drew you to the play, what excited you about it.
Yeah, I love Teresa Rebeck's writing. It's so smart and it's so detailed. On the surface level, you when you pick it apart, it's like an onion. Like on the top, it
Yes.
seems so like frivolous, but then you keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and it gets so real. And I think it's the perfect play, like Annie said, for right now. And it turns in from to this play about like this woman who is just like dating all these men, into a play about connection and about really longing to connect. And a year into a pandemic, I feel that way. Like it's been a year, and it's been really a healing and fun process to get to watch Annie dig into this woman. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. And then Annie, I wanted to ask, what do you find is something that real like a line or a moment that really resonates with you in the
Mm.
play?
I mean, there's so many, but I have to say that even from the first day of rehearsal, uh, the minute, just when we get to that end, it's this catharsis and it's literal, it's embodied in the character, but what she's written allows this character to go through the whole thing. And by the time you get to the end, it's an entire journey. And what I wanted was for people to feel what I was feeling because it's as if we're going through it together in real time. And so for me, that final line every day in rehearsal, and even every time I say it, I start to fall apart. So I always take a deep breath. And those of you who've seen it know I say that the last two lines of the play, but that final line for me, maybe we're here because we need each other. It gets me every time because I think it's important anytime, at any time, any moment in life. But I think that right now, as Zach said, 1 year, a little over a year now into this pandemic, gosh, anything that we took for granted before, um, not connecting with those that we loved and not taking for granted what we didn't know we could lose and how much we really needed each other, how much we depend on one another, and having to isolate. And I live alone with two dogs, and not being able to just go somewhere and grab something, not being able to call someone and say, I need help. I don't have my groceries, and wondering how the other person's doing, but you can't help them. And how we were all living in this bubble before this, and we were so lucky. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing to be that lucky because, man, if we were all that privileged, what a beautiful thing it is to exist in that world. But suddenly the rug got pulled out from all of us. And I think everybody realized how much we really needed each other. And every time that line means so much more to me now. I think if I'd done this play 2 years ago, it wouldn't have meant the same. It'd be poignant. But every
Mhm.
time I say it, and the first day that we did this for an audience, I just bawled. I mean,
Mm.
because I looked out at everybody and I thought, you're all here. I'm here with you. We're here together. And the audience and the actors, we can't do it without each other. They can't come to the theater if we're not there. And I can't tell my stories or tell our stories if they're not there. And it, it, it moves me every time. And the fact that they're showing up and the fact that they're willing to come to the theater to see, it's really cathartic and gorgeous. And it kills me every time. I just break down like a baby every time.
Mhm. I think there's something, I feel like people talked about, especially with the pandemic, that we had like lost the ability to plan, because like we just didn't know where things were going to be, and so it made it really hard to plan, and so we were living constantly like in the present and couldn't wish for a future. But something else I think we lost was the ability to be spontaneous. Like you couldn't just swing by a friend's place or grab drinks after work, or like, hey, there's a new exhibit at the museum, why don't we check it out? And I think that's something that for me, like her coming out of this like intense work life balance and going into this like, no, I'm going to go on some dates, and some of them are going to be terrible, and I'm going to try though, because like trying is the thing. um, I think really gets me.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
Um, let's see, we have some questions popping up in the chat.
Yeah.
One from Janice. Annie, can you talk about the clothes and the styles? Is there an order to what you choose? Does it help you remember where you are in the play?
Yes, yes. There is an order, and that's a really good question because um, what you guys got to see is a much more stripped down version than what it was originally in rehearsals, and even into dress rehearsal. Like the day of, I think maybe even up until the day of first preview, we had more clothes, we had more shoes,
Oh.
and oh god, it was insane because, as I said, we needed an order. I actually, and I'm a little bit OCD that way too. Like I started the very first day. Um, we read the play and they're like, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? I was like, we're on our feet tomorrow, and I want every single thing that you can find that I touch. I need the representation of that. And they're like, what? Already? I was like, oh yeah. I need to touch every single piece of clothing. If it says 5 hangers, 6 hangers, whatever it is. Because I love props and I'm not afraid of them. But I knew that they were actually an integral part of this play because there's so many layers to Haley. She's masking. I mean, the more that you dig, the more you realize why 600 shoes? Why all these clothes? Why does she have a different style? There's not, some people have a certain style and that's who they are and that's this iconic thing. She has all these different styles of clothing in there, which starts to show you that she has survived by code switching. She does
Mhm.
shopping retail therapy, and she's been doing it since even before. I mean, she sort of divulges that she had these shoes back when she was married. And
Mhm.
so, like, you start to really dig into this and you start to look at her closet and why are there so many different kinds of things? Yes, it could be that she loves a lot of different things, but also is there something else that she's hiding underneath? Um, because she doesn't really know who she is just yet. And so all those choices, all the clothing was super deliberate. Each date meant something different, and each thing that she was preparing for, and each thing that she was letting go and stripping, or that she is letting go and stripping, as she's letting go of that date and purging that story, she's preparing for the next one, and it's a completely different thing. So she's morphing to sort of suit each occasion and each thing and each person. And just, in a logistical sense, for me, the actor, we really needed to be like, okay, there is one shirt, one dress, one this, and it goes in this order. And who was here today? Somebody just said Todd. No,
Bud and
Bud and
Cheryl.
Cheryl. So Bud and Cheryl, I'll give you a little trivia. So today, I don't know, the show was just, everything was flowing, everything felt good, and I was relaxed, and the lines were just flowing today, and it was a blessing. And I went up to that closet and I put on that long skirt, and that was not the one that I was supposed to go to next. I was supposed to pick up this tiny little red skirt. So as I sashayed across the stage and I went and I said that I float, I felt something different. And I felt my legs a little more constricted. I went, oh my God, what made me do that? My body just naturally went for this conservative look. Each thing means something different. And for some reason, I went to that, and the audience would never know that, and it still works. She's still wearing this outfit, but everything has a specificity and a reason for being. And I missed the specificity of, there was one more short skirt after the black and white disaster that she stays in for a while before she rejects that and goes to the next emotional piece that goes with what she's going to wear on the date. And so that was an interesting thing that just happened automatically. And then the closet is in a certain order. So the little red skirt was just mocking me every time I went back to it. It was just all alone there in the closet. I was like, shut up. It was just between me and her. And it was just, and it's a big red skirt with gold thread. And she's like, what's up? Remember me? You forgot. And I was just like, get out of my way, and moved on to the next scene. So yes, there is an order and the deliberateness to all of it. And the costume designer, amazing. Look him up. He was brilliant. One of the best people I've ever worked with. Incredible. That's another thing that, a little bit of background on that. We talked before we began rehearsals with J.A. King Carroll, who is the director, and we had a Zoom conversation, and we talked about it being a collaboration. Who do I see as Haley? Who do they see as Haley? What are the different themes? What are the different things she's talking about? What are the colors? How does she express herself? Who is she? And we talked about the code switching and, morphing and all her facades and what she hides under. So all of that, super deliberate. And then his vision, taking it all up a notch, to help her create this other persona each time. She's still hiding behind something, So they all had an air of some sort of fabulousness, which is what's so beautiful, because by the time you get to the end of that journey, what remains is, you hope, Haley, that's all that's left, is like for her to just be herself.
Lovely. We have a question from Carol Ann Palmer. Knowing that the show is going to be taped for home viewing, was anything different for you in the acting, directing, whatever?
Different from, maybe I should clarify that, different in terms of, did it feel different for me because of the genre? Is that what you mean? Did it feel different because we were doing it for video? Or are you saying, was there anything that was different in the taping than the live?
I think that might be the question, but we'll let Carol Ann weigh in. If there's anything different in the taped version versus the live.
Well, technically, and I don't know, honestly, because I was so engrossed in what I was doing, and it was still very, very new for me. And so I was so engrossed in making sure that everything was so precise, because this show has, it's by the numbers. Everything is precision in this show. So for me, it was still very new, as I said, because the process was so quick, and I was so focused on making sure that everything, that the show was really clean and intact and the lines were there, that I actually didn't notice. And that's a question that Jade asked me, because our director was gone by then. So it was an invited audience, a very small audience of staff, I think, and maybe staff family. So I didn't really see how the cameras were set up. I don't know. I think they were supposed to be at Eyeline, and I'm not sure. I honestly, it was a blur to me, as Haley would say. So I don't know how they set it up. For me, there was nothing different. We didn't do anything different. I was wondering if that was going to be the case, if
Mhm.
we would set up the shots and go scene to scene and maybe set up some close-ups, because I would have been very open to that, and I would have actually loved to do something like that. I think there are union rules and things because I'm in the Actors Union, Actors Equity, and I think there are things that you can and cannot do when it comes to taping, and how that works.
Mhm.
So really, all you're seeing or all you're going to see is one live show. We did it from
Mhm.
start to finish. There was no stopping and starting. If something had gone wrong, we had the ability to do that,
Mhm.
but for some reason, it was just I was able to do the show from start to finish, and it wasn't a train wreck, and we were able to tape the whole thing just one clean shot, which is
Yeah.
actually terrifying. If you're someone who does either like TV, film, or something, no one really shoots everything like that, and like
Mhm.
you've got one shot. Um, so I hope it lives up to its standard and your standard. But really, you're going to be seeing the live show as it is on stage. Nothing has changed. Nothing is different. Taped.
Mhm.
I think they do have different camera angles.
There will be
Maybe
different
that's
camera
something.
angles. Yeah.
Maybe that's something that they can actually do in the editing, which might be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This was actually this was the first time that we went start to finish with no stops on a recording this season.
wow.
Sometimes we've had to, and sometimes we've been like, oh, actually, if we like move the camera here, it might make something fun happen. But there will be close-ups, there will be wide shots.
Oh wow.
It's a 3 camera setup, so you'll get all sorts of different views.
You
For those
guys,
of you
that's
who are
fancy. I
watching
didn't
from
know.
home, it's very fun. It's very fun. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ba, 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 ba. Any other folks? We've been chatting for a bit now here. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have any more questions, burning questions, feel free to drop those in the chat now.
There's one
Um,
hand up, I think.
there's one from Carol Ann from
Okay.
the beginning. She had her hand up. Um, but yeah, um, this has been great. I've been having a good time. Usually, as I start to wrap things up, we suddenly have 5 more questions. So I just want to like make room and space for that. Um, but
Yeah,
we
ask away.
did say that we would turn our cameras on. Thank you. Thank you. Carol wants to thank you, Annie, um,
Oh, thank you,
for doing
Carolyn.
this.
I'm
Uh,
so grateful. This has been an amazing experience. I really, really hope to come back. So put that out there.
will do.
Um, and so it's just hard because we're still in the middle of it, and there's a lot of rules. I stay in a lot because of COVID reasons, and I get tested 3 times a week, and we have to be very careful, and we have to make sure that we're respectful of one another. So I'm not able to see a lot, and it's also been cold, and I hate the cold. And so now that it's warm, I'm able to take walks with my mask, and it's gorgeous out here. I
Mhm.
love it. I love Portland. It's beautiful, and um, the people here are incredible, so friendly. The staff, they're like some of the happiest staff I've ever met. I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. Everybody's kind, and they love working there, and they're all hardworking. Um, it's just been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to be out here. So if you see me with a mask on, wave, because I might try to walk around this week a little bit and actually see Portland. So I hope
Mhm.
to come back someday post pandemic in a new world and see more and people's faces.
Absolutely. I think that's a lovely place to end it. I just have a um, little post-show stuff. I want to thank both Annie and Zach for being here and doing this lovely talk back. This is getting recorded now and will be available for people to watch later if they get the digital on-demand version of the show. But you can catch Annie live for one more week here in Portland, Maine. So if you're in Portland and you want to do that, we would love to see you at the theater. Also,
Yes, please.
If you want to join us digitally, that's cool too. And that should go live, I believe, on Wednesday, on the 28th. That'll be going live, which is very exciting. And we'll be live for like 2.5 weeks after the 28th.
Yeah, do a
Also,
watch party, you guys.
yeah,
Gather people. It's a fun. We've had some groups of people come together, and I love it. They're raucousy, and it's so delicious. They answer and they laugh, and they like. It's so much fun to do. Like, get groups together to watch it together.
yeah. And then we do have one more show coming your way in May. We'll be doing Danetta Lavinia Gray's Where We Stand, directed by Kevin R. Free and starring Tracy Conyer Lee. And we'll have more info on all that on the website soon. So thanks for coming out, folks.